Hi everyone, my name is Lizette Marks and I'm a professional holistic chef, nutritionist, and yoga teacher. And yesterday was November 8th and I had shared with you about the Paradise Campfire. And I talked about a dish that I like to make my parents. They love sweet things, you know, like tea cakes, things to have with their coffee, and all manner of sweet things. But, you know, they're a little older and I like to make things a little healthier. Because what I like to do is cook for people who have either a serious illness or want to gain more energy and resilience. I like to help them cook with mindfulness and intention so they can reclaim their health and feel amazing. And my mom and dad, my mom's 78, my dad's 82, so, you know, they gotta watch their sugars and various things like that. But I want to have fun with this recipe with all of you. So I want to show you how you can have an amazingly delicious and decadent dessert without succumbing to white sugar, white flour, and all of those things. So this one is full of fiber, full of antioxidants from the fruit that I'm putting in here. It's berries. And it also happens to be grain-free and gluten-free. So this recipe is called a clafoutis, and that is a French dessert that's similar. It's a lot like making a pancake. That's the batter, and then you add fruit to it. And traditionally, the clafoutis has cherries in it with the pits in it, and it's sometimes served in a right here. I have this cast iron pan, or maybe in a ramekin like this. And so I made some ahead of time for all of you in a ramekin, and hopefully it'll be done in the oven in a little bit. It's been there. And that way you can see it this way. And today I'm going to show you how to make it in a cast iron pan. All right, so let me run down the ingredients for you and then we'll get started. So to make our clafoutis batter, we need 3 eggs, cassava flour, almond flour, sea salt. I chose coconut milk, and I'm using a full-fat coconut milk, and then some maple syrup to sweeten it, and maybe I'll put a little bit of this cinnamon here. So we'll sprinkle that on top probably. I think that'll be really nice. So for the amounts, we're going to just put this batter straight into a blender. That's how easy this recipe is. You can take any type of blender. It doesn't need a high-power blender like this Vitamix here. That just happens to be what I have. So let me go through the ingredients again with you, and I just want to tell you a little bit about them. Just going to plug that in right now. So eggs, you want to choose some good quality organic eggs. When you crack them on a flat surface. Jacques Pepin taught me this because when you crack on the edge, sometimes the egg goes in, the shell goes into the egg. So when you crack it, sometimes you get shell in there. But also, back when people used to get their eggs just straight from the chickens, even with washing them, you wanted to crack them on the flat surface so that the shell wouldn't go in, because sometimes the shell wasn't super clean. So I like to do that practice. So I'm going to crack them right on my, my cutting board here, and then just put it right in to the blender. So 3 large organic eggs is what we're going to do. Okay. 1 more. Just give it a good crack and then put it right in. Just going to give my hands a little wash. Okay. And then we're going to use our cassava flour. So the cassava flour, this is flour comes from the cassava root, otherwise known as yucca. And this is an amazing grain-free and gluten-free flour that, I mean, you can make the cassava into a flour by just drying it. And cassava is also used when it's refined, it's used as tapioca. But we're doing an unrefined cassava flour. I have this brand here, which I like. It's called Otto's. And there are others, but this is 100% yucca root. Some people say yucca. I say yucca because it's delicious. And it's very versatile. You can use it to make pancakes. You can swap it out for muffins and any kind of cake. And so that's why we're going to use it here in this clafoutis, because this wouldn't be traditional. In a traditional clafoutis batter, you'd use a good quality white flour is generally what you would use. So in goes the cassava flour. The next, and so that was about a 1/4 cup of cassava flour, by the way. And we'll have the recipe for you. I'll attach it to this video. In addition, we're going to use some blanched almond flour. So the blanched almond flour, I usually get it in bulk and I get it from Costco. This is a good quality organic almond flour. But you can also make your own if you're feeling really ambitious. And in our signature course, which is our mindful cooking course that we'll be launching out next year in 2020, we will show you how to do some of those from scratch staples, such as making your own almond flour, which is a great skill to have in your back pocket because you can really upgrade the quality of your flours. So this though is a really good alternative because it's just easy, you can get it, and if you do a lot of baking, this blanched almond flour is fantastic for cakes, for crusts, and for muffins and things like that. All right, so we're gonna put about 1/3 cup of this blanched almond flour. Another brand that I really like on the almond flour is Bob's Red Mill. That's a really good quality one. But there's some more out there. I just look for, make sure it's organic, make sure it's sourced well. Okay, so those are our flours. Then we do a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. Let's get that in there. And then we're going to add the coconut milk. If you don't happen to have coconut milk, then you can use almond milk, hemp milk, whatever you'd like. I like the richness of the coconut milk. This is a full-fat organic coconut milk. It tastes really delicious in here. And again, I'm taking this classic recipe and I'm making it dairy-free as well. So the only thing though, technically it's not dairy-free because I'm adding butter to the bottom here. But if you wanted it completely dairy-free, you could do coconut oil on your pan or grease it in your ramekin. The other plant milks you could use, I mentioned almond milk. You can also do pumpkin seed milk. I mean, there's a lot of variety here. But again, if dairy is not an issue, go ahead and use a good quality whole milk. Making sure it's organic, okay? So we're gonna pour that in. In it goes. And then we need a sweetener. I'm using a good quality grade B organic maple syrup. Pour that in. And this is about 1/2 cup of sweetener in here, the maple syrup. Now some of you may be asking, can you use honey? I'm not a real fan of heating honey, and this dish heats at about 400 degrees. So I would save your honey for other types of desserts and other sweetenings. All right, so now we're going to blend it up. So just put our blender together here. And just make sure that when you have your blender here, always make sure you're on number 1. Don't start at high power. And then we're just gonna blend it. All right, that's it. We've just made our batter. How easy is that? All right, so now we're going to set up our cast iron pan to put the batter in and put the fruit in. I'm gonna turn off the heat. It's always so dramatic, these gas ovens. And then we're going to add butter. So I add about 1 tablespoon of butter. I like the richness of the butter in here. And again, if you're going for a fully plant-based, of course not vegan, but just dairy-free, you wouldn't want the butter. You could use ghee though, because when you make ghee, you take out the milk solids. But for this, I think the butter tastes really well. Use coconut oil or avocado oil if you don't want it. All right, so we're just gonna let that melt, and I'm gonna just give it a little bit of help. Sometimes as I'm looking, and with recipes, and you'll be learning a lot of this from me if you join me in my course, you have to look at what you're cooking. And so sometimes a recipe will say 1 tablespoon of this or 2 teaspoons of that. And then you're kind of going, wow, that's a lot, So I'm looking at this going, that's a lot of butter. I'm going to take it out. I think it's fine just the way it is. We'll just set that right there. I might have gone a little over on that tablespoon. Okay, so now this is bubbling a little. Let me turn it down. And now we're going to add our beautiful batter, which kind of resembles crepe batter. And when this clafoutis, this particular dessert, is baked, it has a kind of a custardy texture to it. It's really delicious. It's a little dense, and I believe that's probably because it's got mostly gluten-free. It has the gluten-free grains. It's a little heavier, higher in protein. But there again, you have a dessert that's not only decadent, but it has good quality protein, good quality fiber. You're getting it here from the figs. So I chose the flavor profile I have here for my clafoutis is fig and berries. So I have a combination of raspberries, There's a few blueberries in here and some blackberries. And you can just get this, you know, if you get frozen organic berries, you can use that. So you can make this flavor here all season. And then I have dried figs, or you can use fresh figs. So we're just gonna add the figs here. I used dried figs this time. In my other ramekins, I had some fresh figs, so I used those. But either way, if you're using the dried figs, just soak them a little bit in water so that they plump up a little, and then they're easy to cut. So I'm just gonna add them here, kind of here and there. It's kind of like, it looks like a fruit pizza. It's kind of, but it tastes wonderful with your tea, your chai, or your coffee. It's a simple dessert to make. It's actually a nice, sweet little brunch item that you can add to a brunch menu. And now we're going to add the berries in here. So I'm just gonna put them right in. And I like a lot of berries in here. I think it tastes just so good. And if you don't, you know, if you want to try some other flavor profiles, you can do pears and apples and persimmons. Or like in summer, you can grate a little bit of lemon zest in your batter and add blueberries, kind of blueberry lemon. There's so many things you could do, and I encourage you to let me know in the comments if you try this recipe, what combination will you do? All right, the last thing, it's not in my recipe, I think I'll add it in just as an option, is a little bit of cinnamon. I think a little sprinkle of that across the top will look really pretty and be very delicious with this. Okay, so now we're going to put this in the oven. I can turn my burner off now. I actually don't even need to leave it on at all. Once the butter's melted in there, just compose the clafoutis. Then we put it in a 400-degree oven and leave it in there for 35 to 40 minutes until you put a little toothpick or a skewer, put it in the center, and it should come out clean. And then you're ready to go. You can let it cool for about 10 minutes if you'd like, and then serve it with your favorite hot beverage. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.
Subscribe.
Yes, subscribe to our cooking videos. We'll be putting a whole lot more on our channel, and so please visit us often. You'll even see some YouTube lives and techniques and all sorts of things that we have cooking up in the kitchen. So subscribe to our channel.
And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you. Bye.